And without objections, let me start the meeting. This is our first hearing of the evening. It's a 7:30 hearing, and it deals with a continuation of the application of David Tadanico and Erin Tadanico. Their application is dated October 13, 2020, and they're seeking a variance to build a 26-foot by 1-story addition front porch to their residence at 27 Coolidge Road. And the zoning bylaw indicates that the dimensional difference is supposed to be 20 feet from the front property line. And here the applicants are seeking to build the addition at a distance of 13.2 feet from the front property line. We originally started this hearing on December 8th. And at that time, the Tadanecos made a presentation, and they supplied us with certain petitions signed by people assenting to the variance application. Nobody spoke in opposition to the variance application. And the board felt that perhaps a more thorough signing by more neighbors in proximity to the subject property would be in order to grant a variance in this case, because it wasn't technically a de minimis variance. And so Mr. and Mrs. Tadanico agreed to continue the hearing to this evening, and in the interim to visit their neighbors and get them to sign petitions in support of this variance application. And they have indeed filed a petition that has approximately 17 to 18 surrounding neighbors supporting the application. I'm not going to take the time to read all of their names, but they're certainly on file with the Board of Appeals and the petition. We have not received any comments or communications whatsoever from anybody in the neighborhood or anywhere else opposing this application. So I suppose I start out by saying, let me introduce the participants. My name is John Munnard. I'm chairman of the Board of Appeals. And with us for this particular hearing are board members Virginia Donahue King and attorney Frank O'Brien. And the rules are going to be the same for this hearing as the last hearing. We're tape recording the proceeding this evening as always. So that with that as a preamble, I'd like to welcome Mr. and Mrs. Tadanico back to the Board of Appeals and ask them, in addition to the signed petition that they filed with the board as we requested, do they have any other evidence or any other comments they want to present to the board?
Hi, thank you. It's good to be back.
Good. I apologize for the delay. We had some difficulties getting everyone on board.
No problem. Happy New Year, everybody. So, I mean, we've gone through the process of getting additional signatures, and again, no objections from anybody adjacent or living on the street.
Okay, that's great. And is it fair to say that you didn't receive any comments in opposition to your application for variance as well?
No.
Correct. Yes. No opposition.
So if you don't have anything further to add in support of your application, let me open it up to the board member. First of all, let me see if there are any persons present visually here who want to be heard either in support or in opposition to your application, or who may have questions regarding your application.
Sure.
Is there any such person present this evening? Okay, so there's no such person present. So if you have nothing further to add, let me chat with the board members and see what their feelings are regarding this application. Mrs. King, do you want to be heard first?
Sure. I was impressed with the number of neighbors that wanted that, well, that approved of the application. And I had indicated in December 8th that I would be willing to go along with it if those signatures came back. And I'm not going to go back on my word there. That's exactly what I would be looking for in my voting today. One thing I would like to add, though, is that I'd like to I'd like to say that I'm thinking about this because it's a porch as opposed to an enclosed area. And I know that I think I mentioned at the other hearing that porches get enclosed and then become bulkier than the space they took up because they have walls and so forth. And I would not want this porch to in any way be the precursor to some kind of enclosed area. I'm afraid of creeping incrementally away from the zoning bylaw, and so I would want to have some provision for that if we should choose to accept this.
Okay, let me ask Mr. and Mrs. Todanico, do you have any intentions of closing in the porch and making it part of your house?
No, we don't have any intentions of that.
Okay. So
I'm not all that concerned about the present owners. I'm thinking of, down the road, other owners.
I plan on being here, so.
Well, I know, but
on behalf of anybody else,
God only knows what's going to happen to all of us, and there'll be people that aren't even born yet living there. So, it's just I just would hate to open a can of worms that I think would not be good for the neighborhood. Whereas I am prepared to vote for the application as a porch. But I wouldn't want it to creep away. And I'm not suggesting that you would have it creep away, but, in future that's something that could happen. So, and I know that what happens is when there's a property that's already had, some Board of Appeals cases, the 3-person board that's called to that next meeting, whether it be, in 10 years or 50 years, they have, they get copies of the prior decisions so that they can see what the intent is. And that's where I would like to preserve my direction that this perhaps not become a bigger part of the house, but remain an outside piece of family living.
Okay, that's I think perfectly understood. Mr. O'Brien, do you want to be heard on the issue of enclosure of the porch?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I kind of agree with Mrs. King. The relief sought is for a porch, and a porch it shall be, and a porch it shall be as mentioned in the decision. So I think that would be sufficient to give future boards, should this matter arise, notice of this board's intention. So I thank the applicants for their diligence and appreciate them going to their neighbors and gaining support. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd be pleased to support this application.
Okay, great. And I just have two questions for the applicants. Number one, I take it you have no objections if we add a condition to the variance that the porch not be enclosed. Is that
correct? We have no objections to that.
Okay. And my other question is a question we always ask on these variances, and that is the porch that you're going to build. It's going to be in substantial conformity with the sketches and plans that you filed with the Board of Appeals.
Absolutely.
So we'll incorporate that in there so we don't end up with a different porch.
Right.
And if for whatever reason there's a minor tweak to the porch for building reasons or for any other reason, be sure you talk with Mr. Prondak, our building inspector, and make sure he's in the loop, and then you won't get caught building a porch and having to change it around a little bit. Okay, so let me ask my fellow board members, does anyone have any further comments on this application? Okay, so all those in favor of granting the requested variance of Mr. and Mrs. Tadanico, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Well, congratulations on your new porch. It looks wonderful. I think the neighbors are going to love it. You'll love it. Hopefully your family will love it. And thank you for your diligence. I think I agree with both Jenny and Frank that it's really a pain in the neck running around and seeing neighbors and trying to get their signatures. But you were very, very diligent, and I appreciate.
Yeah, I would like to thank the Tadanicos for doing that. I know it's a task I put on their shoulders, but I'm impressed with their efforts, and thank you for doing that.
So that's great, folks. What we're going to do here, we're going to suspend this meeting, but then we'll have to have somebody prepare the decision on this application. Do I hear any volunteers for that?
I guess I should, right?
Oh, that would be very generous of you. We appreciate that, Jenny. And that may take 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. And that'll get circulated. It's signed by all members of the board. And then it's filed with the town clerk. And there's a 20-day appeal period before which you can pull a building permit. So during that 20-day period, technically somebody could appeal, but nobody's going to appeal in reality. And once the 20 days expire, you can talk with Ms. Sutton or Mr. Prondak or somebody in his office. They'll tell you how to get a certified copy of the variance decision. And then you should file that with the Norfolk Registry of Deeds. And they'll tell you where the Registry of Deeds is and what the expense of filing. But you really have to file that because you could have your variance application lapse if you don't file it in a timely manner. So rather than fooling around with it, just get it over to the Registry of Deeds and make a copy of it and record the original, and then you'll be in great shape to get your building permit and start construction. And hopefully by then COVID will be less and the weather will be warmer. So
great, thank you.
Thanks for your diligence and best of luck to you.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Take care.